Welcome to another edition of my Simple and Pretty card classes. Today I'm going to share with you how to create this really pretty butterfly card. I think it's so fresh and so on trend for spring, and it uses some new Stampin' Up! Products that create these little beauties. These are the butterflies dies from Stampin' Up! There are 3 different sizes, and we're going to use the smallest one. You'll notice that I'm storing them on these thick cardboard magnetic pieces, and I also label them so I can keep all of my framelits together. These cards are from Stampin' Storage. I'll share that information on the video. So I'm going to have that die. And I'm going to use for the sentiment the Painted Petals Stampin' Up! Stamp Set. It's clear mount, so it's very, very easy to use. Everything coordinates so beautifully, even the paper that I'm going to use at the very beginning. So let's get started. I'm going to do a little bit of a change. Last time, the card that I showed you used all white. I'm going to use some soft sky to show you how pretty a card base. This is a card base. It measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Looks below the white. I think it's a really nice alternative look. And then I'm going to take a piece of Whisper White, and that is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm using my Stampin' Up! Magnetic platform. I've got my very well loved, I usually flip it over so that if it's bowed at all, the flattest side is down. But my magnetic platform for my big shot. And then I'm going to put down the cardstock. Highly recommend a piece of wax paper because it helps to really line up the, it helps to really allow the little bits and pieces of the butterfly to cut crisply and cleanly, as well as pop out of the little pieces. That's sort of the trade-off, kind of like wearing high heels. They make your legs look great, but they're a little extra work, but it's worth it, right? So I'm going to put that right about there. And the reason I'm lining it up so carefully is I'm going to be using the negative of this particular cut. And here is my big shot, and I'm going to zip it through. And a very important tip, it's fine, there's a little pressure, but it'll go through. I've noticed how I've put it through, and now I'm going to back it up, put it through a second time, and for good measure, I'm going to rotate it forward and do a third time. That little trick, along with the wax paper, makes an enormous difference. So here are my results. I also have a suggestion for you from my good friend Katie LeBady to put a dryer sheet between the plate and the cardstock, an unscented dryer sheet, and it will also help with removal of the little bits and pieces. So now I've got, wipe off a little thing. Now I've got my little template that will be also part of the card. And then I've got my, I can flick some of these out. And I also use a paper piercing tool. I usually push on these center holes, just gently with a paper piercing tool to pop out the design. It should come out pretty easily. Then I'll flick. I know this is a little messy, but most of them are going to pop right out. But the dryer sheet method is excellent as well. Perhaps it's a little messy. I only have scented dryer sheets, so I'm not able to share that little tip with you today. But that's what we end up with. Pretty cool. Now we're going to do the stamping, and I'm going to use Soft Sky and one of the stamps from the Printed Petals stamp set. You'll note that I do mount my sentiments on a diagonal to avoid what I see as on the edges I get a little bit of a prism, and I can't see them as well when I'm stamping. And the beauty of clear mount, or actually it's clear photopolymer stamps, is that you can see through them. I want to make sure I can line them up when I have that wonderful advantage. So I'm using some Soft Sky ink. I'm going to test it. This is a brand new pad, so I want to make sure it's inked up good and it looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and line that up. You'll also note that I'm using the grid paper, lining up this piece and trying to keep as many angles as I possibly can lined up. So that's soft and pretty, and that's the exact look that I'm going for. Then I'm going to take my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I am very generous with them, and I think you kind of need to be. I'm going to place them in a number of spots to try to give it a little lift. Make sure you get close to the outline as well of your object, because that's the part you most want a lift, so you can get that interesting shadowing that I think really gives it a wonderful 3D effect. You could even add some here and here, but I'm not going to for right now. I want one a little closer to that edge. And then I just pop them out. Boy, I'm messy today. Got so many little bits and pieces. But that's fine. I have cleanup. It cleans up very easily. And it's so worth it. You'll notice I'll use my my thumb just to kind of pop it down, and it helps lift the edge up a little bit for me. And then I'm going to layer it up. I'm coming in close, so my voice might get a little louder. And I'm using the edges of the grid paper as well to line this up. And I like to get a good look. I think we're good. Okay, so now with our pretty butterfly, I'm also going to recommend using a bone folder to just give it a little bit of a curl, okay? If you actually fold this yourself, sometimes you'll get creasing on the body, and the bone folder does this amazing job of manipulating the paper. And then I'm going to take a couple glue dots, one right in the main part of the body. You can actually bury both of them, and one in the lower abdomen, so you don't have to monkey with them. They should disappear. If so, if they show a little bit, I'll just pop it down a bit. Oh, my top one didn't work. Hang on a second. I need to push a little harder. There we go. And so it is going to actually attach to the soft sky cardstock. And then this butterfly is going to flutter up. Isn't that pretty? Think how dramatic that would be, even with like a black background and a black sentiment. Really nice alternative. And then I've got one of our neutrals. It's a white designer button, and I'm going to use a couple more glue dots. And then make sure I get those on there today. I am using the new Painted Blooms. They're new, so I'm learning the names. Painted Blooms Cotton Twine. I use the Soft Sky. For the other card, I use the Wild Wasabi. They're really, really pretty. And I tied a bow on there. I just threaded it right through the button, and I'm going to put that in the center. Isn't that a pretty card? I just love it. And again, the possibilities of different colors behind, as well as just simply white, are amazing. And then, as I showed you with the first card, I added a piece of the Painted Blooms Designer Series paper. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I cropped it out with one of the Stampin' Up! Envelope dies that fit perfectly right to the curve of our Whisper White medium envelopes. And I did the same with a second piece. This is equally as adorable. And again, another Whisper White medium envelope. And I am going to just add a little bit of snail along the top. You could use fast food fuse. You could use liquid multi-purpose glue. I don't do any down here. This will hold it in place. If I do more adhesive down here, sometimes it affects being able to place it. And you just don't need to use the extra Designer Series paper. So I'm just going to slide that down. Because to me, this is what really completes the beauty of our cards and the delivery of the cards, is to have a pretty envelope. And so let's see it all together. So I hope you enjoyed, today's Simple and Pretty card class from start to finish. My blog is stampinpretty.com. I have over 1,000 samples and hundreds of tutorials available there for you, totally free. And you can also shop for Stampin' Up! On my blog online. How quick and easy can that be? Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.